There was always a moment in the morning when the house was awake, but no one else was. The world hadn't started yet. And if you noticed it, you knew it wouldn't last. Winter mornings in 1970s Britain began in the dark. Not the soft kind of dark, but the deep, unmoving one. Curtains stayed closed. Windows held the cold. You moved quietly, not because you were told to, but because the house asked you to. Every sound felt louder than it should have. A floorboard, a breath, a sleeve brushing the doorframe. Outside, the street hadn't woken yet. No cars, no voices. Just the lamps still burning, as if the night hadn't quite let go. You reached the kitchen without turning on the main light. One small lamp was enough. Yellow, low, familiar. The kettle was filled carefully so the tap wouldn't echo through the house. It was always colder in the mornings. The sink, the metal, the air, the switch clicked. Once. Then, the quiet hiss of heat beginning. You stood close, hands wrapped around a mug, waiting for something simple. Steam rose slowly, curling into the dark. The first real warmth of the day. Nothing else mattered yet. Not the time. Not what was coming. Just this moment, before the house woke up. The house felt different before anyone else was awake. Larger somehow, quieter, as if the rooms had more space than they would later. Radiators ticked softly as they warmed, then fell silent again. Pipes knocked once behind the walls, then settled. Familiar sounds you didn't question. They meant everything was working. The air carried the smell of yesterday, faint but still there. Clean fabric, cold plaster, a trace of tea beginning to form. You moved slowly, not wanting to disturb the balance. Doors stayed half closed. Lights stayed low. Every room felt like it was still sleeping. For a moment, the house belonged only to itself. And you were just passing through it, careful not to wake it too soon. Everything you needed was already waiting, laid out the night before, exactly where it should be. School shoes stood by the door, polished until they caught the light. Still cold, still stiff. Coats hung heavy on their hooks, sleeves folded in on themselves. Scarves draped carefully, ready to be wrapped tight against the cold. Bags rested on the floor, books stacked inside without checking. Pencil cases zipped shut, nothing missing. The clock was already ticking, not loudly, not urgently, just enough to remind you. The day hadn't started yet, but it was prepared. Outside, the street was still holding on to the night, the air sharper than you expected. Your breath visible for a moment, then gone. Street lamps glowed orange against the dark, but they were beginning to fade, slowly, without hurry. Windows remained black, curtains closed. Most of the street still asleep. Then, one light came on. A kitchen, somewhere down the road, a small sign that the day was starting. Frost traced pale lines along the pavement. Bins stood quietly at the curb. Nothing moved. Morning arrived like that, not all at once, but piece by piece. The quiet didn't end all at once. It loosened. A floorboard creaked upstairs, then another. Someone turned over in their sleep. A door opened properly this time. Light spilled into the hallway, brighter than before. Water began to run somewhere above you. The house was waking up. Voices followed, low at first, unfinished. The sound of the day testing itself. Footsteps crossed the landing. A chair moved. A radio clicked on. Then down again. Not music yet. Just noise enough to push the silence back. The kettle boiled again, louder this time. No one worried about the sound now. The rules had changed. Time moved differently once the house was awake. Faster, less forgiving. There were questions. Who was first? Who was late? What still needed doing? The calm slipped away quietly, without protest. It had done its job. Morning had arrived, and the day had begun. Those early hours stayed with you longer than the rest of the day. Not because they were important, but because they asked nothing from you. Before the noise, before the rushing, before you had to become who the day expected, there was that pause. A small pocket of time that belonged to no one else. You didn't try to remember it then. You didn't know it would matter. You just stood there, holding warmth in your hands, while the house finished waking up around you. Later, the day would fill itself with things. Lessons, work, voices, clocks telling you where to be next. But that morning, quiet stayed underneath it all. A feeling you couldn't quite name. A sense that the world didn't always move so fast. Years later, it's often that moment that returns. Not the day itself, not what you did, but how it felt before anything happened. The cold kitchen, the dim light, the sound of a house coming alive piece by piece. Those mornings taught you something quietly. That calm doesn't announce itself. That stillness doesn't last. And that once the day begins, it doesn't wait. If you remember standing there before everyone else woke up, then you remember those hours too. They were brief, they were ordinary, and they mattered more than we ever realized.